Well, hello and welcome, my friends. Um, it's Monday, the 29th of April, 2019. It's been just over a week since I posted the last video of me and my mate Duncan, my Oppo, 85 years young this year, in Real Town Centre, doing our anti-Tory, anti-austerity campaign. It's a weekly campaign. We're supposed to be outside the job centre in the town soon as well, handing out information to people who need it, like me, like myself, about where to go if they get sanctioned, or they need help with a PIP or ESA being reassessed, need to reapply. I know lots about that. I'm sure a lot of you do as well. But so yeah, as usual, this is a quick vid because I just don't have any spare time anymore. For people who are new to the channel or don't know, I set the channel up nearly 2 years ago, I think. This is my channel, but at the time I set it up along with the Real People's Assembly YouTube channel. Well, I didn't set that up, I was posting videos at the same time, basically. But on an anti-austerity message, basically. At the time I'd been on job seekers allowance for 2 years. In the end it was 3 years, basically just rotting on job seekers allowance, just before it switched over to universal credit. In fact, that was just about to happen when I got a chance to go back to university for a year so I could get off job seekers. But when I was on job seekers, for the last 6 months of job seekers, they tried to sanction me 5 times. And luckily for me and my family, because I've got 2.5 years experience of advising on welfare advice and housing and all sorts with the Citizens Advice Bureau locally, trained and qualified and everything, I knew what to do. But the last time it's very difficult, actually, because I don't know if any of you will have noticed yourselves, but what happened at the time was, rather than phoning up and getting through to a decision maker, you see, the last time I was sort of farmed off to some sort of call centre somewhere, with some sort of, completely untrained, couldn't give a toss moron on the end of the phone. He literally lied, even closed my claim actually, which thankfully someone at the job centre picked up, who was quite friendly with me, my coach at the time, a job coach. Anyway, so yeah, I've got a history of advising people, helping people with ESA and PIP applications and all that sort of stuff. I left the CAB just because of the amount of stress, because it was a voluntary position, but because the need was so huge here, it was just too much. Basically, it turned into a full-time unpaid job, and it wasn't good for my health, especially as I was going to struggle with myself with the same stuff, on job seekers. So yeah, anyway, so this is about universal credit, I suppose, but Tory austerity generally, what's happening generally. Unfortunately, I'm about to mark 6 months on universal credit up here in sunny Rill. I thought and hoped it would be maybe a couple of months, I'd hoped it would be a couple of months and no more, because I knew even before universal credit kicked in here, was rolled out here, that the claimant commitments, the legislation around the UC and the claimant commitments was going to be enforced much more strictly than it was on job seekers. So, for example, if you're on UC, you'll know this, but if you're not, you won't. But one of the claimant commitments is you have to be able to prove that you've completed up to 35 hours per week, sort of job search, or not just job search, but what you've 35 hours of basically work to try and secure a job, or do your best to skill yourself up to secure a job, So that's not just job search, but obviously it includes job search on the online job boards and things, and Indeed and all that sort of stuff, and LinkedIn and blah blah blah. So that's much more strictly enforced. It's a much more punitive system, and I think what gets all of us cross is this has been in the press. Well, the sort of horror stories of what's happened to people have been in the press for ages. About universal credit's awful here, and obviously has effect on homelessness now, increased homelessness because of the problems with the landlord payments to your landlords being paid to you, the claimant, rather than directly to the landlord. So obviously people are already in debt, who'd been struggling already, sort of having to rob from Peter to pay Paul, and blah, and eventually fall into problems. So, sorry, I'm rambling a bit here. So obviously that was all the problem. What's sort of annoyed me slightly is the politicians who want to sort of jump on that because they don't perhaps care particularly about what's happening to you or me, or other or vulnerable people in a worse position, but doing it for their own ends. So they'll talk about universal credit this and get petitions up and all this sort of stuff, but they never talk about the underlying problem, which is the sanction. Because of course if you fall foul of any of your claimant commitments, the problem is you can then be sanctioned. And since universal credit's come out, you hear very little about sanctions themselves, and sanctions are the problem. I get called in once a month for what they call a work search review, which is usually about 5 or 6 days before I'm supposed to be paid. And to be honest, I've been very lucky because I know what to do through years of experience of, I just know what to do basically to meet my commitments. Now, the longer you're on universal credit, obviously you're then shortening the odds of you falling into trouble for not meeting, up to 35 hours a week. If you live in a place like I live, which isn't, near a metropolitan city, where there's perhaps more jobs available per day, per week, it's very difficult to consistently find and meet the 35-hour job search criteria. But of course they know this, which is why it's put in the first place. Back in 2011, I forget the actual academic's name and which university it was, I've got it written down somewhere, but obviously what the government had to do, I don't know if it's stuff of it, but before they rolled out a new policy that was going to affect people's lives on the scale of universal credit would do, messing about with the welfare benefit system, they'd have to do impact assessments, so they'd have to put it past checks and balances, get academics in to do pilot studies and find out what the impacts would be. And one of the professors from which I think it was Sheffield University, I could be wrong, said back in 2011 that if you do this, what will happen is homelessness will rise, people being sanctioned will rise, all the things that we know have happened come to fruition. He told them would be the consequence, but he was just ignored. The data, the forecast was just ignored, and Ian Duncan Smith and the DWPers then just ploughed ahead. So none of this was a surprise to them. They knew this was what was going to happen to people. what, 8 years ago, when it was first being seriously looked into and muted. But anyway, I won't get into what the general message for today is my video is if you're on universal credit, if you're on the ESA, if you're on PIP, if you've been sent a letter out of the blue saying you're being reassessed for PIP and ESA, if you've been sanctioned and you're thinking, where the hell's my food going to come from and pay the bills and the electric, or if you're on universal credit and you're not being hassled and things like that, but you just feel like you're just stuck in the same place and it's just rotting, because oh God, I know what that feels like. Don't lose heart. I'm afraid it's a mental game. Tony Benn, one of my great heroes, said famously, toughen up. I'm afraid if you can, some of us can't, but if you can, you have to toughen up for your own survival. It's a question of, it's up here, it's a head game. Some of us can't do that, which is the point. This is why it's supposed to be a safety net for people who who can't do that. I've got lots of, like I said, I'm a community councillor here, lots of people who are worse off than me because they've got severe mental health problems, or they're simply not capable of understanding the system. Or they're elderly and they don't understand the ins and outs and the sort of specifics and minutiae of universal credit. Not many people will. But yeah, don't forget on your lowest moments that there's loads of us here on YouTube, out there writing, what do we call them, citizen journalists, I suppose, or just friends who know exactly how you feel because they feel exactly the same and going through the same things you're going through, with you all the way, to be honest. There's not a day goes by that I don't think about people in my area, because I'm trying to help people in my area every day going through worse than me, to be honest. I'm literally penniless because 74 quid a week as a single person. I don't get housing benefit because luckily my mum and sister let me live in a house that they rent, but they get housing benefit because they're not well. My mum's a pensioner, so but 74 quid a week, of course, as soon as I get it, it goes straight into the pot for everybody to try and sort of get by and struggle through. And I'm sure it's very much the same for most of you, many people friends and family, but don't let this grind you down, basically, if you can help it. I know it's easy to say, but yeah, always remember that I'm here, there's lots of us here, all going through the same thing, all thinking about each other, and the difference between us and them is that we care about each other and give a toss. So yeah, it's just a positive message, I suppose, if you're going through what's supposed to be, was designed to be a safety net, so that people in between work could live a normal life where they weren't socially excluded from the normal sort of daily activities that people in work can enjoy. But of course, 4 decades of unchecked, rampant neoliberalism and privatisation, and I mean that. I'm a Labour councillor, but I mean that under Thatcher, Major, Blair. When Blair took over the Labour Party, he turned it into a Thatcherite party, basically. Which is the problem. Me and my friends now are trying to turn it back to what it was, which was a party for ordinary people, working people and people who can't work, so there's a safety net there. But it's I've had it at it nearly 2 years now, as a councillor. I've been at it for 3 or 4 years as a party member, and it's a battle every single day. I don't know if it'll work. I don't know if it'll work out, but I can only try, you know. And I'm trying because I've got no choice. Because I'm on UC, and I'm supposed to be going back to university this month, beginning of this month actually. I was supposed to have an application in, but I've been so busy trying to help other people in desperate need and trying to sort myself out, health and everything, because your health suffers, you know, as you know, one way or another after time. That it's now the end of the month and I still haven't got the application in. So yeah, looks like it's going to be 6 months on UC. But as I say, I'm very lucky because I think because I've got counsellor at the front of my name and they know that I've got redress via the local press or even some national press and things. And I go on the radio quite a lot here locally, and I do these, you know, I do the channel and the vlogs and things, and even protest outside the job centre that I sign on in, you know, and I've done for about 2 years now. I'm lucky, I'm treated quite well. Almost every time I'm in there, I hear at least one person who's being treated quite badly, constantly sitting next to somebody or hear somebody who's come in and found out they've had their PIP or ESA stopped arbitrarily and trying to find out what's going on, you know. And I just want to sort of say, well, go here and go there, and here's the benefits of buy a shop, and here's the CAP, and if you'd like me to help, I'll help. But I can't, because I'm there for my own appointment, so, you know, I don't really get a chance to. But anyway, chin up. I'm with you all. We can only get through if we're all behind each other and supporting each other. You know, you can't do anything alone really in this, you know, in life. And I'll see you soon. Hopefully with a video outside the job centre, helping people and telling them where to go and what to do. You know, what to do for the best really. So ciao for now and stay happy.